My name is Nancy Yoder, and I'm 22 years old. This may seem pretty sudden, but I tragically lost both of my parents in a car accident when I was very young. My grandmother took me in thereafter, and thanks to her kindness, I grew up to become a capable, compassionate woman. She used to always tell me something special, time and time again. Listen to me, Nancy, love, because I want you to always remember this. Even if you may become old enough to be on your own, and even if I'm not there for you, you are never alone. Understand? Someone will always come to help you if you're in trouble, so believe in yourself and be strong always, okay? My grandmother was my guardian angel until I moved away for college, and tragically, such a woman, who seemed to be impenetrable, immortal, eternally blessed, passed away last month. She was in the hospital at the end, but her doctor arranged it so that I could spend some time alone with her. Those last few moments together with her were irreplaceable to me, and they were undoubtedly the most precious I'd ever experienced. After her funeral, I felt as though there was a hole in my heart. I never felt such a strong feeling of loneliness, but there were two people who reached out to me and helped me bounce back from my grandmother's passing, Edith and John. I have a couple friends whom I've been close to since I was a small child. One of them was Edith, the other was John. We went to elementary school, middle school, and high school together, and we graduated literally at the same time. We were basically childhood friends. Don't worry, Nancy. We're here for you.
That's right, we are. Don't be so sad, Nancy. People will worry about you. Come on, now, take a deep breath and cheer up.
Both of them were worried whether or not I would recover from my grandmother's passing, and they often offered me words of consolation like that. And long after that, John became especially concerned about me, and before I knew it, it was like he was always there whenever I needed someone. He never failed to be right where I hoped someone would be and offer me words of encouragement. Then, one day...
Nancy, can we talk in private for a minute? I have something important to tell you.
What's up with you all of a sudden? I was astonished. John was never the kind of person who had anything important to tell anyone, and he wanted to me, of all people? He then said something right in my surprised face.
I want you to know I've always loved you. Please, make me the happiest man in the world by going out with me, on the premise of marriage.
I was somehow even more surprised by his unexpected confession, and in a panic, I responded, "I'm sorry," before I fled the scene. But even so, John confessed his feelings to me again and again, and over time, I realized how genuine his feelings were about me, and I became infatuated with him. We ended up dating, and a year later, we got married. We are now a married couple, and we are now sharing a whole life together as husband and wife.
Nancy, do you remember the first time I confessed my feelings to you?
I do remember. You and I have been close friends for as long as I can remember, and I thought you considered me the twin sister you never had. But then you went on and suddenly confessed your feelings to me. I was so surprised.
You were surprised. You only apologized and then ran away faster than I'd ever seen you run. I got really depressed, you know. Glad I quickly bounced back and told you again. And again. And again.
We had known each other since childhood, and now we were husband and wife, as well as best friends. I genuinely thought we'd be happy like this forever, and I hoped with all my heart that things would work out. John's job is in healthcare insurance sales, and because of his very friendly, good nature and hard-working attitude, his sales performance had been steadily increasing for a few months, keeping him pretty busy every day. Accordingly, after we got married, in order to support John at home, I became a full-time housewife, and boy oh boy, did I ever feel happy supporting my husband. I felt like I had a purpose in the relationship.
Hey Nancy, I'm gonna be able to finally take a vacation next month for the first time in a long time. I think I might be able to take a whole month off, honestly.
Oh, really? Well, honestly, I'm not surprised. You've been so damn busy for far too long, honey. Looks like you're gonna get that rest you've been wanting for a while now, huh?
I mean, sure, taking it easy is always awesome. But actually, I thought maybe we could take a trip together somewhere.
A trip? Great idea! Where should we go? But then, John's work made him busier and busier, causing him to work on holidays more and more. And naturally, conversations about the upcoming trip eventually stopped, and that pretty much left me crestfallen. I couldn't even remember the last time I'd spent a whole day alone with him, doing something we both loved, and just having a good time in each other's company, but I didn't let my sadness get in my way. I wanted to help him with his work. In my spare time, I started preparing souvenirs to give to his clients.
The souvenirs you prepared for my clients the other day were awesome, Nancy. It made their days, literally. Hoping you make more of these, for real.
You heard it here first, folks. My little souvenirs were unexpectedly well received, and the clients apparently went home loving them quite a lot. This made me happy too. However, this sort of also backfired on me a little, because over time, the hurdle of John's requests for these souvenirs were raised higher and higher, making preparing them a bigger hassle.
Maybe make the next souvenir something more unusual. I know. They're going to sell Japanese sweets for the first 10 customers at the shopping mall downtown starting next week. How about you go in and get in line and try to buy some?
Okay, I'll do that. I'll get up early tomorrow morning and try to buy them.
Oh, and also, I have a meeting tomorrow, so I won't be able to reply to any of your messages. If you manage to buy the sweets, could you send me a message to my business email? Actually, just let me know regardless. Message my business email whether you get the sweets or not. That way, we'll figure something else out in case the worst happens.
Got it. During this time, I wanted to live up to John's expectations, and I did my best to do so. The next morning, I left the house earlier than John. For his sake, I just had to buy those sweets. Unfortunately, we live in a pretty big city, and since we lived a little ways away from downtown, driving to go to the shopping mall was a good 30 minutes. And that's assuming there's no traffic. But thanks to my early morning departure, traffic was zilch, and I was able to be one of the first 10 customers. I was able to get the sweets without any trouble. Mission impossible? Accomplished. This sense of accomplishment caused me a desire to break. So I decided to visit a cafe, one that I'd never tried before. I was shown to a seat by a nice young waitress who looked to be in high school. I was looking through the menu, trying to decide which delicious-looking dessert to try. The young waitress called out to me. "Pardon me, ma'am. That paper bag you're carrying, could it be from that famous Japanese sweets shop?" "Yes, indeed it is. My husband asked me to stand in line early this morning and buy some limited edition sweets, and I'm actually on my way home. But is this store really that famous?" "Yes, it is, ma'am. Many people around here like Japanese sweets, and that particular store is especially famous in the community, you see." After enjoying our conversation, I ordered a coffee and some pancakes. My, I haven't spent this much leisure time in a long time. When was the last time I took a nice break like this? Oh, wait a minute. I almost forgot. I have to send a message to John's business email to let them know I could get the sweets. That's what I thought, and right as I was sending the message, my coffee arrived. The pancakes were going to take a little more time, apparently. I started drinking the coffee, and then I heard a familiar voice from somewhere in the cafe. I looked in the direction where it came from, and there she was, my childhood friend Edith. "Edith!" is what I wanted to say when I called out to her, but then my eyes opened wide. Why? Because Edith was talking with John, my husband John, alone. I thought he was at a meeting today. What the heck was he doing here? I decided to eavesdrop the conversation, making sure I stayed hidden so they wouldn't notice. "Hey, John, since we're on a date, why don't we just skip to the good stuff and head on to the hotel right now?"
Well, now, hold on. Wait a minute, darling.
For a moment, I genuinely thought my ears were playing a cruel trick on me. No way John would have an affair. With Edith of all people, too. No way that was gonna happen, right?
Oh, Nancy just sent a message. Looks like she managed to buy those limited edition Japanese sweets you wanted to try. She's so useful. It's incredible how much she's made us happy. The best part's that she doesn't even know anything.
Yay! Thank you, John, my darling. What everyone needs is a naive childhood bitch to use every once in a while. I've never been this happy, ever. I love you so much, John. My mind instantly took the whole thing to DEFCON 1. Get the frick out of there, get the frick out of there. My instincts screamed at me to hurry outside. I stood up from my seat pretty forcefully, and as a result, the two traitors discovered my presence.
Nancy, what the hell are you doing here?
Oh, wait, hang on. Maybe she found out about our affair. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't find any words. I couldn't believe I'd been betrayed by both of them. I didn't know what to do. Thankfully, my instincts did, and I rushed back to my car and left the place as quickly as I could. As I drove away, I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen and what I heard. John and Erica were having an affair. They were using me. They'd always used me. All of these negative thoughts overwhelmed me, and as tears started to overflow, I made a mistake that proved to have drastic consequences. I lost control of the steering wheel and caused myself to crash. I managed to avoid all pedestrians, and after hitting a guardrail, my car came to a stop. My head hurts. I was slowly losing consciousness with every passing second. I heard ambulance sirens in the distance, and then I guess I fainted because the entire hole turned black. When I woke up, I appeared to be lying in bed in a hospital.
Oh, have you woken up? How do you feel, ma'am?
I'm assuming you're my doctor, sir? I'm sorry, but I don't remember anything at all. Would you mind explaining what happened to me? At that instant, John strode into the room.
Oh, Nancy, thank goodness. I was so worried about you. Hey, Nancy? Answer me, please. Sir, you must calm down, for her sake and yours.
My doctor proceeds to calm John down before giving him an explanation of my condition.
She was involved in a vehicular accident and hit her head in the impact. Consequently, she's suffered mild trauma to the brain, and there's a possibility she's suffering from temporary memory loss.
The doctor, who I now understood was called Dr. Morrison, looked at me and continued speaking.
Additionally, from the way Miss Yoder looks, another potential cause for her condition regarding her memory is exterior trauma or stress. Exterior trauma or stress? What does that mean? In your wife's case, it seems that she is currently incapable of remembering things just before and after the accident. So, you mean she can't remember what happened just before she crashed? That's correct, sir. There appears to be some gaps in your wife's memory currently.
Dr. Morrison turned to John and said in a slightly stern voice, without ever breaking eye contact,
Forgive me, sir, but I'm going to have to ask you a few questions. Before your wife had her accident, do you have any idea if she'd suffered severe psychological stress? Perhaps the death of a loved one or something regarding her job?
John thought a moment before he said,
Yes, I believe there is. As a matter of fact...
John had the audacity to take advantage of my temporary amnesia and started making up stories to suit his own convenience. What were these stories, you ask? Well...
Nancy has been having an affair behind my back for the past couple of years, you see. A few hours ago, I was trying to catch her and her love red-handed, but then she fled the scene in her car. I went on to pursue her, and I later discovered she'd had the accident.
As soon as I heard the word affair coming out of John's mouth, I felt a throbbing pain in my head for a brief instant.
Oh, Miss Yoder, does it hurt anywhere?
A little. I just felt a twinge in my head, but it's going away. I'm fine, doctor. John paid no heed to me and went on telling his bullshit to Dr. Morrison.
I believe this is a primary suspect for the underlying source of her psychological trauma. That could be why she has amnesia. I see.
He then turned to me and said,
Neither of us knows the truth yet, but for now, I suggest we do everything we can to help you recover your memory as soon as possible. Rest and relaxation is what you need, and perhaps a bit of rehab for your leg. It isn't broken, fortunately, but the muscle has been bruised quite badly. We'll do everything we can to get you back to your splendid self, Miss Yoder.
But for some reason, John flew into a panic when Dr. Morrison said these words.
No, sir, it's okay. I think we should leave Nancy like this, as she is, right now, please.
John smiled gently at me and continued.
What I mean is that it doesn't matter if Nancy's memory doesn't come back. I'll be honest, she seemed to regret the fact that she was having an affair. So even if her memories come back, I believe it would only torment her. Doctor, I must ask you to reconsider restoring her memory.
After he was finished, he said his goodbyes to the people in the room and left. Doctor, do you know when my memory will come back? I just really cannot comprehend how I could have had an affair. I don't know why I would do it, and I don't know how it could result in this situation.
Unfortunately, I don't know when your memory will come back, Mrs. Yoder. But first, let's focus on healing your injuries. And remember this, you are never alone. Believe in yourself, and before you know it, everything will be okay. I know it sounds like a cat poster, but my grandmother used to tell me that, and it's something I tell people that are having trouble.
And with that, Dr. Morrison left the room, leaving me with my faulty memory and my chaotic thoughts. I thought I heard the doctor say something like, "You are never alone, believe in yourself, and before you know it, everything will be okay." Or something like that. Where had I heard that somewhere before? I didn't know. I just couldn't remember at that time. What exactly had happened before my accident? Was I really having an affair with someone, as John was accusing me of doing? Could it just be a misunderstanding? I have no recollection of ever having an affair, but then again, I couldn't remember anything whatsoever from my life before the accident. It was like being brought to life in another body. Where did I go today? Where was I about to go? As I was asking myself these questions, just trying to remember, Edith came into the room. "Nancy, dear, I heard that you had an accident. I was so surprised and worried about you that I rushed here." She said so, before looking at me seriously, and adding, "Well, shit, you look better than I expected. Guess I was worried about nothing, huh?" "I'm sorry I had to come all this way." Edith started wandering around the hospital room. She started staring at the painting of a rose bush that hung on the wall opposite my bed. "By the way, John told me you don't remember anything from before your accident. Is that true?" I just can't remember anything at the moment, but my doctor said that he thinks it's only temporary. I'm sure my memory will come back eventually." I thought I saw Edith's face contort a little when she heard these words. "Is that so? But that wasn't the only thing I heard from John. He also mentioned that you were having an affair." Again, at the mention of the word affair, I felt an extreme twinge of pain in my head. "Edith, I'm so sorry. I really don't remember anything." "So you really don't remember?" Edith laughed and said, "I'll be back soon, dear," and left the room with what appeared to be a sinister grin on her face. That night, after all the lights were out at the hospital, John came to visit me again.
Nancy, did you get your memory back yet?
No, not yet. I just can't seem to remember anything at all, John. When I told him that, John's face contorted into what looked like an evil smirk, reached into his briefcase, and pulled out a slip of paper. The paper was none other than a divorce registration form.
"You betrayed me and committed adultery by having an affair, so I want you to pay me alimony and divorce me."
And again with that jolt of extreme pain. Seriously, I was really starting to wonder why every time I hear this word, it was especially painful when John said it. For some reason. I couldn't help but feel that there was a connection between the affair and my impaired memory. John, I'm sorry, but I want to wait until my memory comes back to go on with this story. It's no use if I don't remember having an affair myself, and a mere accusation won't go far in court. I believe, unless you have tantalizing evidence.
But even your doctor doesn't know when you're gonna get your memory back!
He was yelling at me, and that caused a passing nurse on her night rounds to come swiftly into the room. This is a hospital, sir, so I must ask you to keep it down. And it's also past visiting hours, sir. You can come back tomorrow if you need to see your wife. John, embarrassed by having been warned, turned noticeably red in the moonlight, quickly packed up his things, and left for home. What the hell was John so impatient about? Feeling something strange about him, and as I pondered numerous possibilities, sleep naturally took over. And when I woke up, it was the next morning. Dr. Morrison seemed to be absent that morning. Another doctor was taking care of me. Right when he was doing the routine checkup, John and Edith came hurriedly into the hospital room.
About what we couldn't finish yesterday. Could you please sign this? And make it quick? We have an appointment out of town in an hour.
I took a look at the slip of paper and recognized it as an agreement for me to pay John alimony. The price? $100,000. What's this? What's all this $100,000 for alimony? Edith tries to appease me with her soothing, manipulative voice. John's been suffering for so long because you were having an affair, dear. I'm sure you can pay him the $100,000 as a form of apology. The very notion of me paying you alimony with literally no memory of ever doing what you accuse me of doing is insane in of itself. And then you make the price $100,000? That's beyond reckless at that point. I don't have that kind of money anyway. Now, John starts talking.
What are you talking about? You got the money from your grandmother's life insurance now, didn't you? I was the one who recommended your grandma get life insurance. It was all me, Nancy, darling.
Even with my memory gone, my mind suddenly went blank. Could it be that? No, it couldn't be. Don't tell me he'd married me for the insurance money. That's what I genuinely began to think. And I started to realize I was going to lose everything. But right as I was about to burst into tears and despair, I heard a knock at my door, and walked my doctor, Dr. Morrison, dressed in his casual clothes. Dr. Morrison, why are you... I couldn't finish my sentence. My voice was cracking. Dr. Morrison smiled warmly as he said to my astonished face,
Miss Nancy, everything is going to be all right now. You leave everything to me.
Upon finishing his sentence, his expression suddenly changed from warm compassion to cold malice, and turned to John and Edith. He began to talk.
Mr. Yoder, sir, you claim that Miss Nancy was having an affair, but that's a lie, isn't it? You were the one having an affair, weren't you? What the hell are you talking about? How dare you accuse me of such a ridiculous action? I see how it is. I listened to what you had to say yesterday, sir, and I immediately suspected something was wrong. So, I took the liberty of doing some research. Miss O'Mara, will you please step inside?
And with that, he invited a woman into my room.
This is Miss Barbara Lee, and she was your waitress at the cafe you went to yesterday, Miss Nancy, before your accident.
The waitress known as Miss Lee shyly bowed her head.
Can you please tell us what you remember?
Yes, sir. And in a calm, composed, soothing tone, Miss Lee told us about the time she allegedly talked with me before my accident. I had the pleasure of talking with this woman here on the bed.
And what did you talk about, Miss Lee?
She held a paper bag from a very famous Japanese sweet shop. I couldn't help but say hello to her.
I see. Answer me this, then. Do you know these two?
Dr. Morrison asked her about John and Edith. Yes, I do recognize them. I thought they were frequenting our cafe as a legitimate couple, but yesterday, I overheard them say themselves were having an affair. As soon as she said that, Edith immediately started shouting, "Who the frick is this damn bitch? Who the hell would believe such a stupid story?" John also raised his voice and said to me,
Enough wasting our time with this goddamn nonsense. Just frickin' sign this.
John physically attempted to force me to sign the divorce registration form and the consent form for payment of alimony. That's when Dr. Morrison came to my rescue once again.
You pricks are so goddamn pathetic.
With that one sentence, the room fell deadly silent.
What you've attempted to do these past couple of days can and will be charged for fraud. If you have anything more to say, I suggest you keep it to yourself until court. I think shutting up right now will keep you from digging your own graves deeper now. Wouldn't you agree?
With that being said, Edith and John leave the room as if they were trying to escape. I had no idea what was going on, but I did know that Dr. Morrison had just saved me from something that definitely would have ruined me. I decided to thank the doctor. Thank you so much, doctor. Why did you believe me when I said I wasn't having an affair? He'd smiled warmly a few moments earlier, but the smile he displayed this time made my heart flutter in the best possible way. I'd never seen such a genuine expression of warm emotion before, and it rivaled my own grandmother's smile in how nostalgic and majestic it was.
I don't think you remember, Nancy, dear, but I actually knew your parents and grandmother very well.
It turns out that Dr. Morrison was a childhood friend of my parents. When my parents were brought to this hospital when they had the accident that eventually killed them, he was still a medical intern and couldn't help save them. He'd regretted it for a long time. My grandmother personally entrusted me to him. So, you've been watching over me all these years? Although he didn't give me any verbal answer, I could see it in his face. The tears finally overflowed, but they weren't of despair. They were of pure joy. I divorced John soon thereafter. I later remembered about the affair he was having with Edith, but I didn't file a form for alimony or anything like that. However, friends, family members, and neighbors discovered one after another that they tried to lie to me and use me for their own benefit. The reputations were shattered, and eventually, they couldn't live comfortably anymore. They had moved away, and as of now, I don't know where they live. My memory gradually recovered and I am living my life as I did before. I wonder, did my grandma know that something like this would happen to me sooner or later? With such a mysterious idea in my mind, I am now spending my day studying hard to become a great doctor, like Dr. Morrison, my new guardian angel. Hopefully, I can become a doctor that is widely trusted by all her patients and makes a positive difference in their lives.